A storm be nigh, says I. Afore long, a nor'western will come ripping down the rigging. Turn every jack tar as cold as a witch's teat. Best make merry while I can. Let's ignore that intro. The Navy Pea Coat. The Navy Pea Coat is one of the most ubiquitous pieces of outerwear in existence. And for good reason. It's warm, it keeps out the wind and the rain, and it looks really good while doing it. It's been around for a very long time and started out as a garment worn by sailors. There are several theories about its origin, but it seems likely that it was first worn by Dutch sailors in the 18th century. The Dutch called it a peajakker. P-I-J, meaning coarse wool, and J-A-K-K-E-R, meaning coat. Other national navies adopted its use throughout the 19th century. And by the late 1800s, it had evolved to pretty much its modern form, when it was made a standard part of the British Royal Navy uniform and produced for the Royal Navy by the Camplin Company. From there, it spread to the US Navy, and it remained part of the standard issue uniform for US sailors until it was replaced around 2016 by a nylon parka. Its use by British and American sailors, especially during World War II, and the availability of cheap and plentiful Navy surplus spread its popularity throughout the entire civilian population. Now, I don't need to show you tons of pictures of celebrities wearing the pea coat in classic films to show you how iconic this jacket is. It's everywhere. It seems like every outerwear company in existence has produced some version of a pea coat at some point in time. Change of venue. So, you all know what a Navy pea coat is, but let's go over some of the essentials anyway. It is a dark navy blue or black double-breasted coat, usually waist or hip length. The most recent US Navy issue versions have 3 buttons to the side for a total of 6, though they could have as many as 10 in the past. Speaking of the buttons, they should be a black plastic or resin with a fouled anchor design. Though, they did make pewter buttons for some of the enlisted coats during certain eras, and there are brass buttons on certain versions of the US Navy pea coat as well. It can be buttoned all the way up to keep out the wind and the rain. It has 2 hand warmer pockets above the waist. Some have side vents, mine does not, but some have back vents, as mine does. And they're usually made of a heavy Melton or a napped kersey wool like mine is. My pea coat is an officer's pea coat or a reefer jacket. It was available to officers as an alternative to the longer bridge coat worn with epaulets or to chief petty officers worn without epaulets. It's distinguished from the normal enlisted coat by the brass buttons, as you can see, and then the hooks for the epaulets on the shoulders there. My jacket is a size 38. Now, I'm typically a 40. I wear a 40 suit. I have a 40-inch chest, but this is a 38. I think the World War II era jackets were a bit tighter fitting. This one is a little bit more modern than that. We'll get to that, the actual year this is from, but it's a little looser, so I would say it fits more like a 40. My pea coat was made in 1966. Yeah, nearly 57 years old. And I know that by doing a lot of research. It has certain details that are indicative of a jacket from 1966. First of all, it still has the softer, thicker, napped kersey wool in the dark navy blue. They switched to a Melton wool somewhere around 1980, which has a little more of a kind of pilled surface, not quite as thick. And they switched to a black color. It has this double row of stitching above the sleeve, or right above the cuff of the sleeve. It has tan corduroy lining for the pockets. And then the tag, when I looked it up, was definitely from a 1966 jacket. It's gotten quite a bit of wear in that time, and I've had this particular jacket since I was 17, so I've worn it a lot as well. I've worn it through countless evenings in my late teens and early 20s, going out, going to bars, going to shows, playing shows. It's been through a lot, and it was kind of showing a little bit of that wear. I wanted to go get it clean before I did this video, and the dry cleaners would not clean it until I fixed some of the things that were wrong with it. There was fraying around some of the seams, the buttons were getting loose, the button holes were starting to fray, and so I took it to a tailor and they fixed it up as well as they could. So hopefully this will serve me for another 30, 40 years, and maybe I'll be able to pass it on to somebody else when I die. I absolutely love this pea coat. I've had this, like I said, since I was 17 years old, and it has served me extremely well throughout that entire time. I've worn it through countless nights out back in the day when I was in my late teens and early 20s, going to shows, having beer spilled on it, all sorts of nonsense and shenanigans. It has been my primary winter coat throughout that entire time. It keeps me warm. This thick wool really does the job. It keeps the wind out, it keeps the rain out, and it just looks so good. It is so classic, so iconic. The silhouette just looks amazing. I think almost anyone would look good in a pea coat like this, and the quality is just fantastic. Like I said, this is almost 57 years old, and I have worn it a lot. The Navy Pea Coat. I think this is pretty much the definition of timeless style. If you don't have one, you should get one. And if you do get one, why don't you get a nice navy surplus version? Maybe a vintage one from the 60s or the 70s. The quality is going to be quite a bit better than some of the fashion versions you could get now, modern coats. And I think the price will be a lot less as well. You'll be getting a really well-made, wonderful jacket. If you get one before 1980 and it's a US Navy issue, you can get this wonderful kersey wool. It's an amazing coat, and if you don't have one in your wardrobe, you need one. Thank you so much for watching. I'm your good friend Bradley. You've been the audience. This has been Timeless Style. I'll see you later.